So when you consider the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11, it begins by saying, "Be ye followers of me, even as I am of Christ." Paul is very clear. We only follow a person as long as he follows Christ. The moment a person deviates from following what Jesus instructed, therefore we are known to do what? We are known to follow such an individual. Remember, the Old Testament actually announced, prophesied the coming of the New Testament. But when we look into the four Gospels, we see the incarnation of Christ. When you look into the book of Acts, we see the proclamation of Christ. But when we look into the epistles, we see how the epistles explain who Jesus is. However, the book of Revelation shows us the glorified Christ and everything that pertains unto him. So the epistles, where we find these things there, they explain who Christ is, the doctrine of the church, and for Christians to know what the Lord actually did for them and how they are supposed to do what, to respond. So in verses 2 it says, "Now I praise you, brethren, that you may remember me in all things and keep the ordinances as I deliver them unto you." Look at that. The Bible does not tell us to add on to anything. It tells us to keep the ordinances as they were delivered unto us. What is the responsibility of all believers and of all ministers? To keep the teaching the same it was given. That is the same thing we see in Titus 1:9, that we are to hold on to the faithful words and also being able to exhort and to refute those that do contradict. And we are living in a time where there are several individuals actually do contradict what has already been given. So in verses 3 it says, "But I would you have know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God." That is the clarity of all things. So what the Bible discourages the women to do and the men to do is to change places. Women and men are not to change their place. The place God actually placed the man in and the woman in was the best as far as divine wisdom is concerned. So in verses 4 it says, "Every man praying and prophesying, having his head covered, dishonoreth his head." So in other words, it is saying a man in a public place of worship, if he prays and prophesies, when he's under the female leadership, it is equivalent unto him being actually a person that does dishonor his own head. It is something that is unacceptable. And the word dishonoreth here is the same word which means he makes himself a disgrace. He puts himself to shame. So we shouldn't go out for such particular things.